This happened about 6 years ago, before I moved across the country and started a completely different career. For a while, I worked the overnight shift as the only custodian at Hollow Creek High School, a large brick building that sat on the edge of a quiet farming town. During the day, the place was loud and full of students. At night, it felt like an entirely different world. My shift started at 9 p.m. and ended at 5 a.m. By the time I arrived, every teacher, student, and administrator had already gone home. The evening custodian would hand me a short list of tasks, wish me a good night, and drive away. After that, I was completely alone. The school had long hallways lined with faded lockers, science labs, art rooms, a massive gymnasium, and an old basement filled with maintenance equipment. Most of the lights automatically shut off after school hours to save electricity. Only dim emergency lights remained, casting long shadows that stretched across the empty corridors. The first few weeks were unsettling, but eventually I got used to the silence. Every night followed the same routine. I emptied trash cans, swept the hallways, cleaned classrooms, and mopped the floors before the morning staff arrived. It wasn't exciting work, but it paid the bills, and I enjoyed working without anyone looking over my shoulder. One rainy Thursday night started like every other shift. The rain hammered against the windows, while thunder echoed across the empty parking lot. I grabbed my keys, filled my coffee mug, and headed to the basement supply room to collect my mop bucket and cleaning supplies. As I unlocked the basement door, a strange smell drifted through the air. It wasn't mold or cleaning chemicals. It smelled like damp earth, almost like freshly dug soil. I paused for a moment before shrugging it off. Old buildings always had strange smells. After gathering my supplies, I began sweeping the first floor. Everything was perfectly normal until around 10:30. While cleaning outside the library, I heard a loud metallic bang somewhere upstairs. The sound echoed through the building. It reminded me of someone slamming a locker shut. I stood still and listened. Nothing. The silence returned. I figured one of the old locker doors had swung open somehow and continued working. About 15 minutes later, another noise came. This time it sounded like footsteps. Slow, heavy, deliberate. They crossed the second-floor hallway directly above me. I looked toward the ceiling. The footsteps stopped. I waited almost a full minute before convincing myself it was probably the building settling during the storm. Still, something didn't feel right. Around midnight, I finished cleaning the first floor and climbed the stairs toward the second. The hallway looked exactly as I'd left it earlier. Every classroom door was locked. Every locker was closed. Checked each hallway anyway, shining my flashlight into every corner. Nothing. Feeling a little foolish, I laughed to myself and went back to work. Around 1 a.m., I decided to take my break in the teacher's lounge. I heated a frozen meal in the microwave and sat near the window overlooking the football field. Rain continued pouring outside. Halfway through eating, I noticed movement. Someone was standing near the far goalpost. At first, I thought it might be a police officer or a maintenance worker. But whoever it was, wasn't moving. They simply stood there in the pouring rain, watching the school. I leaned closer to the window. The figure appeared unusually tall, wearing what looked like a long dark coat. Their face was impossible to see. I blinked. Lightning flashed across the field. For less than a second, the entire football field lit up. The figure was gone. I immediately stood up and looked around the parking lot. Empty. No vehicle, no flashlight, nothing. Trying not to let my imagination get the better of me, I finished my break and returned to work. At about 2:00 a.m., I headed toward the old science wing. Hardly anyone used that section anymore because newer classrooms had been built years earlier. As soon as I entered the hallway, I noticed something strange. Every classroom door was slightly open, only an inch or two. I was certain I'd checked them earlier. One by one, I pushed each door closed until every latch clicked into place. When I reached the last classroom, I heard another sound behind me. Click. I turned around. The first classroom door had opened again, just a crack. A cold shiver ran down my back. I walked over and closed it once more. Then another door farther down the hallway slowly creaked open. Then another, and another. Within seconds, nearly every classroom door stood slightly open. No wind, no broken hinges, just silent doors opening by themselves. My ears. I backed away slowly, without taking my eyes off the hallway. Then I heard breathing. Not my own, someone else's. Slow, quiet, very close. I spun around with my flashlight raised. The hallway behind me was empty. But as the beam reached the far end of the corridor, a shadow disappeared around the corner. Someone had definitely been there, and they knew I had seen them. The hallways never stayed empty. For several seconds, I couldn't move. The shadow had vanished so quickly that I almost convinced myself I had imagined it. But the sound of those classroom doors opening one after another was real. I had heard every latch click, every slow creak, every movement. I tightened my grip on the flashlight. "Who's there?" I shouted. My voice echoed through the empty hallway before fading into silence. No answer. I slowly walked toward the corner where I had seen the figure disappear. Every step felt heavier than the last. The beam of my flashlight swept across the walls, lockers, and classroom windows. Nothing. The corridor beyond the corner was completely empty. I searched every classroom in that wing. Desks were neatly arranged. Chairs were pushed in. Nothing appeared disturbed. Whoever or whatever I had seen was gone. Trying to stay calm, I reminded myself there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe someone had hidden inside the school before it closed. It wasn't impossible. The building was huge. I decided it was time to call the principal. He answered after a few rings, sounding half asleep. After listening to everything I had experienced, he paused for a moment before saying, "There's no way anyone should be inside. Check the security office. There are monitors connected to a few cameras." I thanked him and headed toward the security office near the main entrance. The room was small, with 6 aging security monitors showing different parts of the school. Most of the cameras covered entrances, hallways, and the cafeteria. I began reviewing the live feeds. Everything looked normal. Hallway A, empty. Main entrance, locked. Gymnasium, dark. Library, silent. Then one camera flickered. It overlooked the second-floor science hallway. For just a split second, a dark figure stood at the far end of the corridor. The image distorted with static. The hallway was empty again. A chill ran through my body. I rewound the recording. The same thing happened. One frame showed the hallway empty. The next frame showed someone standing there. Then the following frame, they were gone. I stared at the monitor in disbelief. Before I could replay it again, every monitor suddenly went black. The room fell silent except for the low hum of the computer. Then the emergency lights throughout the school switched off. Darkness swallowed everything. Only my flashlight remained. I grabbed my radio. "Power outage," I muttered. No response came through the radio. Static, nothing else. I stepped into the hallway. Without the emergency lights, the building felt completely different. Every corner disappeared into darkness. Every doorway looked like a tunnel. As I walked toward the electrical room, I heard footsteps again. This time they were much closer. One step, then another, slowly following behind me. Stopped walking. The footsteps stopped too. I turned around. Nothing. Only darkness. I started walking again. The footsteps returned immediately. Whoever was behind me matched my pace perfectly. My breathing became faster. I spun around with the flashlight. Still no one. Then, bang! A locker slammed shut somewhere nearby. I nearly dropped my flashlight. The sound echoed across the hallway before fading into silence. At that exact moment, the power returned. The lights flickered back on one by one. Relief washed over me, but only for a second, because halfway down the hallway, standing beneath one of the lights, was a man. He wore filthy gray clothes covered in dust. His face looked pale. His eyes never blinked. He simply stared at me. I froze. Neither of us moved. After what felt like an entire minute, he slowly smiled. It wasn't a normal smile. It stretched far wider than seemed natural. Then he turned and calmly walked through the fire door, leading out of my fear, and ran after him. When I pushed open the fire door, the stairwell was empty. No footsteps, no closing doors, nothing. I hurried downstairs anyway. The basement smelled stronger than before. That same damp earth smell filled the air. My flashlight swept across stacks of old desks, broken lockers, pipes, and maintenance equipment. Everything appeared untouched. Then I noticed something strange. Behind a shelf of old paint cans was a narrow opening in the wall. I had worked there for nearly a year. I had never seen it before. Carefully moving the shelf aside, I discovered a hidden maintenance tunnel just large enough for someone to crawl through. Fresh, muddy footprints covered the concrete floor. Someone had been using it recently. My heart pounded. I immediately backed away and called 911. The dispatcher told me officers were already on their way. As I waited near the basement stairs, I kept my flashlight aimed at the tunnel entrance, almost too full. Then, from somewhere deep inside the tunnel, I heard breathing. Not loud, not rushed, just slow, patient, as though someone inside was waiting for me to come closer. Then a quiet voice drifted out of the darkness. "You shouldn't have found me." Every hair on my body stood up. I didn't wait another second. I ran upstairs as fast as I could, locked the basement door behind me, and prayed the police would arrive before whoever was hiding beneath Hollow Creek High found another way out. The tunnel beneath Hollow Creek High. I slammed the basement door shut and locked it with shaking hands. For several seconds, I just stood there, trying to catch my breath. Every instinct told me to get out of the building, but another part of me kept thinking about the hidden tunnel. Who had built it? How long had someone been living down there? And why were they watching me? The dispatcher stayed on the line, assuring me that officers were only a few minutes away. Those few minutes felt like an eternity. Then I heard it. Bang! Something struck the basement door from the other side. I froze. Another bang echoed through the hallway, harder this time. The metal door rattled in its frame. Then everything went silent. The silence was somehow worse. I backed away slowly until I reached the school's front office. From there, I could see the main entrance through the glass doors. Still no police. Still no headlights. I kept staring at the basement hallway, waiting for something to appear. A minute later, the emergency lights flickered. Once, twice. Then they went completely dark again. My flashlight was the only source of light. As I swept its beam across the hallway, I noticed something that hadn't been there before. Wet, muddy footprints. They stretched across the polished floor, leading away from the basement door. My heart nearly stopped. The door was still locked. So how had whoever made those footprints gotten out? I followed the trail with my flashlight. Each footprint looked fresh. The muddy prints led toward the old auditorium, a part of the school that had been closed for renovations for years. I knew I should have waited for the police. Instead, curiosity got the better of me. I slowly followed the trail. The old auditorium doors were slightly open. As I pushed one of them wider, it let out a long, painful creak. Dust floated through the flashlight beam.
Rows of worn-out seats disappeared into darkness. The stage curtain hung in tatters. Everything looked abandoned. Then I heard a whisper, not words, just breathing. Slow, steady, coming from backstage. I called out, "Police are already here. You have nowhere to go." No answer. I stepped onto the stage. Behind the curtain stood an old storage room filled with broken furniture and unused props. At first glance, it looked empty. Then my flashlight landed on a sleeping bag. Next to it were empty food cans, water bottles, blankets, batteries, and several notebooks. Someone had been living inside the school for a long time. The notebooks caught my attention. I picked one up. Every page was covered with drawings, not random drawings. They were sketches of me sweeping the hallway, me eating in the teacher's lounge, me carrying cleaning supplies through the basement, hundreds of drawings, each one dated over the past 8 months. Whoever had been hiding here had watched me almost every single night. A cold wave of panic rushed through my body. Then I heard footsteps behind me, turned instantly. A man stood at the edge of the stage. His gray clothes were filthy, and his beard was long and unkempt. His eyes were fixed on me with an expression that was impossible to read. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, he smiled. "I told you not to find me," he said quietly. Before I could react, he turned and sprinted through a side exit leading into another hallway. At that exact moment, I heard voices outside. "Police!" Flashlights flooded the windows. I shouted as loudly as I could, "He's running! This way!" Officers rushed inside while I pointed toward the hallway. The building exploded with activity. Commands echoed through the corridors. Doors slammed. Footsteps thundered across the floors. Less than 2 minutes later, 2 officers emerged from the far hallway with the man in handcuffs. He never resisted. He never spoke another word. He simply stared at me as they led him outside. The investigation lasted for days. Police discovered that years earlier, the man had worked as a maintenance contractor during a school renovation project. Before leaving, he had secretly connected several forgotten maintenance tunnels and hidden storage rooms. After losing his job and eventually becoming homeless, he returned to the abandoned passages beneath the school. For months, he survived by sneaking into classrooms after dark, stealing food from staff refrigerators, and hiding before the morning employees arrived. No one had ever noticed him. The officers believed he had become obsessed with watching the only person who was always alone overnight: me. When detectives searched the hidden rooms, they found calendars marking every one of my shifts, hundreds of sketches and maps of the school with my nightly routes carefully drawn in red ink. One detective later admitted something that still sends chills down my spine. "If you hadn't discovered that tunnel," he said, "we might never have known he was living here." I resigned the following morning. No amount of money was worth spending another night alone inside that building. Months later, Hollow Creek High underwent major renovations. The hidden tunnels were sealed with concrete, and the abandoned auditorium was demolished. I never returned. Even today, whenever I hear the echo of footsteps in an empty hallway, I instinctively look over my shoulder. Because I know how it feels to realize that someone has been watching you for months without you ever knowing they were there.